This is Sports Charlotte, the podcast about sports in Charlotte. My name is Herb White. I'm editor-in-chief of the Charlotte Post. This is Cameron Williams, staff reporter at the Post. It is Thursday, March 5th, 2026. It feels like spring, and it is blazing hot, or so it seems. So are the Charlotte Hornets of all folks.
The best team in the NBA, I tell you.
Well, they have the best record since the middle of January, so something's going right.
I tell you, this team is, well, it's as I predicted. Because, you call me triple P, even though I am quadruple P. But I've said for a while now, I think this team is borderline contender worthy, or at least worthy of that label when they're healthy. And I know you kind of snickered a while back. I mean, this is before this year's draft even.
Uh-huh.
But I thought just the pieces this team had, it was a complete roster with a good first five, a good amount of depth. They've added depth since then. They've added a cornerstone who's now front runner for Rookie of the Year in Con Knipple. What's to say this team can't continue to play well? Yeah, they're not going to vie for a top spot or a top seed or anything in the playoffs. But what's to say they can't make some noise from a lower seed and play the Pistons and even give them a scare in the first round or something like that?
Well, it doesn't necessarily even have to be the Pistons. It could be
or if you somehow
Cleveland or
the
whatever.
Knicks or somebody.
Yeah, why not? Not to try to get too far ahead of ourselves with this, but just to be capable of getting to that sixth seed would be an accomplishment, considering where the Hornets were 2 months ago.
Yeah.
That in itself is something to look forward to in terms of where they are versus where they've been. And in the Charlotte Hornets history, they haven't advanced to the second round of the playoffs but a couple of times. So you have that working against you as well in terms of the franchise history. A lot of the times that they've gotten to the playoffs, when they've managed it, it's not like they got very far.
Mm-hmm.
So not only are they in the hunt to make the play-in portion of the postseason, if they can get to that sixth spot and actually play a 7-game series where anything can happen, I think that's worth looking forward to as well.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, we're talking about 22, 3 years ago, the last time they've made it out of the first round. And it's been, more than 10 now since they've even made a playoff series. So they're due. And I think this team, if they can stay healthy, there we go. For those watching, but for those listening, knock on wood. You have to keep this group healthy, and it's proven that they're 19 or 20-2 now. The first five of LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, Con Knipple, Miles Bridges, and Moussa Diabate. So if they stay healthy, a 20-2 record isn't too shabby, if I do say so myself.
That's a lot of winning.
And the last 5 or 6 games they've won by 15 plus. I think that's the second longest winning streak or second longest streak of that nature since the Warriors teams with Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, and so that's good company to keep.
Yeah, they're laying waste to a bunch of folks, and you look no further than last night's game when they absolutely manhandled the Boston Celtics, who are a very good team.
Yeah.
Granted, they don't have Jason Tatum, but they haven't had him all year, and they've managed to get to the top 3 in the Eastern Conference, and Charlotte just straight punked them.
Yeah, and they've done, or what they've done to some teams as of late, and especially with Boston, they're letting their key guys, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, get theirs, shutting down everybody else. And sometimes that's a recipe that teams can win with. I know, it takes it down a significant level, but even locally here in Charlotte at the high school level, you should see it with guys like Isaiah Evans from North Mecklenburg. teams, they knew they weren't going to stop him. So they let them get 40 or whatever, but stop everyone else. Sometimes it would lead to an upset win. Sometimes it wouldn't, but the Hornets were able to do that with Boston last night. I know Derek White had a big game, 27 points, and Jaylen Brown, he's always going to be scoring in the 20s, but no one else, I don't think, even sniffed double figures. So if it works, it works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, the most amazing part of all this isn't necessarily that the Hornets are figuring it out, because Charles Lee, when he came here, he already had that reputation. This guy's a good coach. He develops talent. Blah, 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 blah. Of course, the only question was, when is he going to get around to developing this talent? But now that it's happened, it's just amazing to see it. And it wasn't like it was this slow burn where you can see those steps being taken. It happened instantaneously. It was like they go from sucky to really good in the course of a season.
Well, they got healthy over the course of the season.
Mm-hmm.
It is hard, especially at any level of sports, but especially grown men, which you would think in a way is kind of opposite or backwards. It's hard to build chemistry with guys that might not be familiar with one another or whatever if they're not playing together. They're not on the court. If one of them's always hurt, two of them are always hurt, three of them, four of them, however many guys, because we've seen some CBS receipts of Hornets injury reports before. Point is, now they're playing together. You're seeing a lot of just natural chemistry because repetitions, and it's fun to watch. And I really enjoy going to games now, whereas in the past it's like, this feels like work.
or worse. It's like, okay, we're dragging you out for the execution at sunup.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
But yeah, you're right. Decimated Boston, and that's a game where, looking at the lines last night, we talked about the game. You said you thought the Hornets would win. I don't recall that. I thought we remember talking about a close game. But even I would have picked the Hornets to cover the spread. They said Boston was 7-point favorites. I was like, I think it's going to be a real close game. I'll be the first to admit I thought Boston was going to win. I think most people in Charlotte, honest this guy apparently, thought Boston was probably going to win that game. I thought it was going to be closer than 7 points, but turns out it was completely opposite. Really total performance. But looking, as kind of we wind the Hornets talk down, just looking at the next little bit of the schedule, you need to win really the next 4. Miami, Phoenix, Portland, and Sacramento. Because then you go to San Antonio. You get Miami and Orlando, who's right there kind of in the cluster in the standings. But then it doesn't get easy. Towards the end of March, New York at home. Philadelphia, Boston at home. You do get Brooklyn and Phoenix and Indiana. But then you end the season with Minnesota, Boston, Detroit, and New York. Wow.
But this is a good opportunity for the Hornets.
Sure.
Because there are probably still people who are doubting, who are saying, this has got to be smoke and mirrors or pure luck. Now, never mind that they just handled Boston like it was okay to do that. And the Celtics have been playing above expectations all year. But when you start talking about, okay, we're going to give you a real gauntlet to deal with some of these really good teams like the Minnesotas and the Knicks and the Celtics. You may just need to say, well, as a coach, if you're also the psychiatrist, you're probably saying to yourself, there are still folks who can't believe what's going on. And this is a prime opportunity for us to go out and show everybody what time it is. I mean, I'm still blown away that nationally people are talking about the Hornets.
Yeah, Charles Barkley is all in on these guys.
And I think he has every reason to be. But there's still going to be that narrative that says, can you really trust these folks to keep this going? Now's a good opportunity to go out and prove it.
Yeah, and it's like I said, these next 4 really important games. Miami's 50-50 kind of toss-up. I say that, but the way they handle Boston, you should handle a team like Miami the same way. But Phoenix, Portland, and Sacramento need to get those for sure, because then it's going to be a tough road test with San Antonio, who's going to be one of probably the top 3 favorites to come out of the West. So, yeah, these next 4 are critical, and starts tomorrow right here in the QC.
And the other side of this story, people are actually paying attention to the Hornets in Charlotte, which is amazing to me. And Charlotte, love you. It's a great city, but fans are so finicky. If you're not winning, folks don't want to have anything to do with you.
No.
Now they want to have something to do with the Hornets. And there's actually a little bit of a bandwagon going on.
No.
So I think that's a plus as well. And Coach Lee and the players actually notice it and they talk about it, which is great. And when was the last time you could hear anybody in the Hornets organization talking about feeding on the energy of the home crowd?
Yeah, because normally the crowd is about 50-50
at best.
Yeah. But home game tomorrow, and there's a reason the next 4 are on the road, because there's more basketball in town. Spectrum Center will not be empty for the next week. The ACC tournament will be here in town. Well, that was a good transition, if I do say so myself.
Unless you're San Antonio and it's the rodeo or something. But obviously this is not that kind of town. So it's college basketball.
College basketball will be in town. The regular season wraps up, which will be, Saturday or Sunday, I think will be the final games for teams across the country. And the ACC will wrap up play Saturday. Duke, the Duke Blue Devils have already solidified the number 1 seed. Question to you, Herb. I'm going to toss this one to you up in your area of the court. Is this the Duke Invitational this year?
Pretty much. Duke has to be subpar on one day for somebody to catch them. Now, who that might be, I don't know. I don't necessarily see anybody with the ingredients to beat Duke in the ACC. And I don't know, at the start of the year, I know we talked about Louisville could have been that kind of team.
Yeah, but they've just been so up and down.
Yeah, they've kind of fallen off the map.
And Duke's handled them twice. I look at a team like North Carolina, who's getting healthy. They're getting Well, we'll see what happens on Saturday. I'll be the first to say that first game, Duke didn't handle playing with the lead well. Take the 15-7 foul discrepancy out of the equation. Everybody, referees probably were a little suspect towards the end of that game, especially calling one foul the entire half. But Duke had to learn, and they learned the hard way in that game. You have to play with a lead better. Keep attacking, keep doing the same things that got you. I think they led by 13 or 14 at one point in that game. Do the things that it took to get that lead, and don't take your foot off the gas. And I'm sure they still got a bad taste in their mouth. We'll see what happens Saturday, but nonetheless, they'll come to Charlotte with the top seed. Right now, Virginia's in the 2 spot, a full game ahead of the Miami Hurricanes. Coach Jai Lucas in his first season with the Canes have them ranked 22nd in the country. Came from Duke. He was an assistant under Coach Shire. I don't believe Duke's played Miami this year. Could Miami give them a run for their money?
Somehow I don't feel that. I would feel it for Virginia before I'd feel it for Duke. For
you
Miami.
Feel it from Virginia, who just got beat by like 30.
I know.
Okay.
I know. But I'm just saying there's Duke and there's everybody else. But if there was somebody who could be capable of catching lightning in a bottle one day in Charlotte, neutral court.
Maybe Virginia, really?
Yeah.
No, Coach Odom's got them playing well, so I say playing well, but they're a team they've lost to North Carolina and Duke now, and so it's like
there's no shame to that. A lot of folks have done that.
They're supposed to. You're the 11th ranked team in the country. You get boat raced. Sure, it was at Cameron Indoor Stadium. It just wasn't a good showing.
No, but again, neutral site. So if nothing else, there's
It's
going to be the
Charlotte.
Duke fans, and then there's going to be everybody else.
I was about to say, it's Charlotte. It's literally a home game for Duke or Carolina. When the two play each other, which could happen in the semifinals yet again, it's a 50-50 split, and that place is loud.
I understand. But again, if your team isn't Duke and they're playing the Blue Devils and giving as good a game as they're getting, the folks who aren't Duke fans will get behind whoever that is. And so that to me is another variable.
Well, let's just look at our Carolina-based schools.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We've talked plenty about Duke and North Carolina at this point. Clemson down in South Carolina, 11-6 in the conference, 21-9 overall. Do you think Coach Brownell and the Tigers could?
No.
Okay. NC State, 10-7 in the conference, 19-11 overall. Had some games this year where it's like, wow, they're pretty good. Beat the tar out of the Tar Heels. No pun completely intended. Sure, it was without Caleb Wilson and Henry Visar for the Tar Heels, but still handle. I mean, when I say handle, it wasn't like it was just like, oh, I beat them by 5, good win. It was double digits, almost 20, 30-something points. It was big.
No.
Okay. The other... You don't even want to go there, huh?
No.
What, the Wake Forest Demon Deacons at 6-11 in the conference and 15 overall?
No.
So you're saying Duke or Virginia? And Virginia only if they...
Well, North Carolina could get something.
But
again, if it's North Carolina and Duke in a semi, of course the place will be rollicking. It'll be at full throat and all the other stuff that you would expect when those two programs meet on a basketball court. But if everybody's at full strength, it will be a good game, maybe even a great game. But I think Duke would find a way to get out with a W.
So if Duke wins Saturday and they, like you're predicting, win the ACC, that pretty much guarantees them a lock for the NCAA #1 overall.
Yep. Unless Michigan somehow.
Nope. They've already beat Michigan.
Well,
head-to-head matters to the committee.
Well, but yeah, if you're talking about if Duke wins the ACC,
that means they wouldn't have lost the game the rest of the way.
Yeah.
So I'll be honest, and fans that know me well enough know that growing up I was a Duke fan, but right now, Michigan, I'd still have to pick them to be my national champions. I think, yes, Duke beat them head-to-head. It was neutral. Michigan's tough. They have a complete roster with a lot of really good players. I think if they play Duke, I mean, it's a lot like if you go back to the 90s. If Duke were to have played that UNLV team in 91 10 times, Duke might win 2 of them. And UNLV
was that good.
They were good. I don't think it might be quite like that, but I think if Duke and Michigan this year were to play 10 times, Michigan probably wins 6 and Duke wins 4.
But they would all be competitive.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
And I think right now, and I'm no disrespect to Arizona, but I think Duke and Michigan are going to be the 2 front runners.
Those Duke and Michigan are tough teams, not necessarily tough to play. Obviously, they're tough to play, but they are
mentally,
tough. They are that. And I'm not so sure that Arizona wouldn't at least buckle, if not crack, in that type of game. Another team that I think can be in that conversation, maybe it's a dark horse, Houston.
They've shown me a lot lately that they're...
That's why I say dark horse.
Yeah. But, I mean, they've dropped a few lately that I thought was like, 25-5, still a decent overall record for the season. But Texas Tech, I think with JT topping out, they don't.
Yeah.
Let's table this to a March Madness podcast because we could talk a lot on this topic.
Yeah, because I also love St. John's.
You don't get me started on that. No. Did you see what UConn did to them?
I said I love them.
They held them to 10 points in the second half.
I said I love them. I didn't say they were going to win it, but if you have a coach who's been around and who can help still the waters, and navigate through it.
They couldn't do that in a regular season game when they missed 24 straight shots to end the game. I digress. Let's bring this to a landing.
Yes, to a merciful close.
I'm sure we'll talk about March Madness as we get going towards that next week. We might do that
going on.
Not next week, but the following Wednesday. We might even drop because obviously the tournaments will start on Thursday. But while we have your attention, go to thecharlottepost.com. Up at the top right, you will see events calendar, donate, and subscribe. Visit all of them, but donate and subscribe most importantly because we want you to be able to access the paper every week, whether that be on the e-edition or physical in-hand copy. Also, subscribe to the sports newsletter curated by that guy every week. In-house reporting from me, Herb, a lot of our stringers. You don't want to miss out on that. It gives you a rundown of everything we've done the past week. And also go to YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts as well. The Queen City Podcast Network, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to the podcast. Click the little bell on YouTube so you can see us every week. Sometimes more than once a week.
Yep.
And we would be very appreciative of you for doing that. So, from the EIC Herb, myself, Cameron, and beautiful Dorida, thanks for watching and listening, and have a great rest of the week.